We're facing a time now, though, where there are some who would like to wall off parts of the web and make it so that you need to have approval to make content and applications. And I think, certainly from Adobe's point of view, we don't express judgment on what people make. People should be able to make whatever they feel compelled to do. And I think that's best for the web. And I don't think it's the role of a company to exercise that judgment over what people are making and whether people can see it. I think that's the role of society and law, not of a company. That's the bigger issue, I think.
So by ruling off part of the web, are you referring to Apple and the iPhone platform and not including Flash in Safari?
Are you reading between the lines? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think you look at what's going on right now. Apple's playing this strategy where they want to apparently create a walled garden around what applications people can use. I was seeing that helicopter, which is very cool, by the way, and I very much want one. But you can only control that thing using an application running on the iPhone. Why can't you control that helicopter using your choice of smartphones? You should be able to use an Android smartphone or a Nokia or any smartphone. That is what the world should be like.
And so, do you want...
Do you agree, Brady?
I do agree, and actually, they've talked about adding clients for other phones just to let everyone.
Yeah, but it's hard.
That.
And if you look at what's going on right now, it's kind of like to go back, like railroads in the 1800s. So there was a very competitive network of railroads at that time, and everybody was trying to compete on freight delivery and everything. And part of the competitive dynamic was people were using different gauge rails to prevent freight cars from running across the country. You had to actually stop and unload the car, put it in somebody else's competitive network, and your cars literally would not run. And that wasn't good for industry, wasn't good economically for the U.S., wasn't good for competition. And I think that's what's attempting to be done right now. And I think that's totally counter to the internet, totally counter to the web. We need to have freedom of transport, we need to have open access, and we need to enable people to compete on the merits of the things they do, not on the gauge of the rails. And the gauge of the rails today is writing native code for applications on a particular operating system, and in a way that it's really expensive to then go and make it for others. And so people won't. You'll see people make it just for a particular phone, and that cost is preventing healthy competition.
So that's true for native applications, but not necessarily true for web applications. With regard to native applications, do you feel that cross-platform code can retain the unique sensibilities of the individual platform?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the stuff that's been created on the web today, very rich, obviously, content and applications. And computing is a history of creating new levels of abstraction in order to make people more productive. And it doesn't mean that you have a loss of expressiveness or a loss of fidelity. In fact, you can get more expressiveness than you had before because these patterns enable you to do more productively. And so it goes from like assembly language to compilers to frameworks to graphical user interfaces to operating systems. And now we have the layer of the web. And that I would say is not a decrease in capability over time. I think that's been an increase in capability. So I think it's a false assumption to think that if we try to make things run across a variety of devices that somehow they'll be less effective. You can still take advantage of microphones when they're available, cameras when they're available, rotation, touch input, for example, and and on that, inside Flash, for example, Flash Player 10.1, we support multi-touch input. And that's going to work across devices. So you can say, hey, I've got my particular touchscreen. Well, Flash makes that work the same across all touchscreens. So if you want to get 32 different inputs on your screen, Flash supports that. If your device enables that. If you only have 8 inputs, it only has 8. And so your application can be incredibly innovative around how to handle multi-touch and do that in a consistent way, but take full advantage of that innovation that's happening. And so that's the dynamic. So I don't think you have a loss at all.
Well, Jason Grigsby wanted to know if you were going to route around Apple and continue to compile to iPhone native code for enterprise applications, or maybe take advantage of jailbroken phones and enable applications to be released on Cydia.
Right. We've, I think, done a great job technically getting Flash applications to run on the iPhone already. There's a bunch in the store that already went through the approval process. You can, from Flash CS5, which is out in the market right now, you can create an app. So technically, we made it work. The the technology issue I think Apple actually has with us is not that it doesn't work, it's that it does work. You can actually make a great application that works fine across operating systems, and they don't like that. So now, whether we don't want to play technology games when Apple's playing a legal game. So they're just changing their license agreement to block what we did. We had great innovation on technology inside of Creative Suite. And a few days before we released it, Apple changed their licensing terms. So that's a different game. So we're not going to keep doing technological work when we're being blocked like that. So we're focusing on everybody else. I think there's a huge wave of innovation that is happening right now, and there's going to be a wide diversity of devices that are coming out. I've seen a lot of what's coming, and we're working with collaboration through something called the Open Screen Project, which is about open access to content and applications. And we've got over 70 partners now working with Adobe on that. And so I've been able to see what's coming, and I'm under NDA with all these guys, but boy, there's a lot of great devices coming out, and I think you'll be blown away when you see them. They're coming out over the course of the second half of this year and next year and going forward.
And what is the Open Screen Project?
Open Screen Project is about enabling a world where you can actually make whatever you want and you can deploy it across devices. So, and that's something that I think is ultimately going to be the best way to go for the industry, and it's something that we're working with basically everybody except one company on right now. We'd love to work with that one too, but and so all the variety of the innovation that's happening with all these other companies is going to dwarf what's happening from one company. And we've seen that play out before. I think we're at basically right now like the early days of the personal computer revolution. It's now happening across multi-screens and smartphones and tablets and television sets and all kinds of different form factors and netbooks. And we're in the early days. And I think we're going to see we're at the beginning of the game. We're not the end of the game. There's going to be a lot of more to play out here. I think it's like 1984, in a lot of ways.